Hello, Ram fan. My name is Jeff Garner, and welcome to the playoff edition of Inside Cleveland Rams Football with Coach Scott Riley. As always, I'm joined by the coach. Thanks, Coach, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Rams finished off the regular season this past week, Coach. Big win over rival South Johnston. It was the fifth and final Greater Neuse River 3A conference game. Rams win the game by a score of 53-7. Rams finished with a 7-4 overall record. More importantly, 4-1 in the conference. We now move into the playoff as the number 8 seed in the 3AA East bracket, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But first, let's talk the South Johnston game. Dominating effort by the Rams, I thought, over South. Coach, your initial comments on the game.
Yeah, I think it's the best game we've played all year, and it's a good time to be playing.
Peaking at the right time, yeah.
Right, so we put a big emphasis on the fact that we had to win the game. One, to keep tradition alive. We never lost South Johnston, never lost on senior night, but also to guarantee ourselves a place in the playoffs. We felt like if we lost, we'd probably still get in, but a much lower seed, be guaranteed a spot there, and you don't want to leave it up to chance.
Absolutely. Take care of your own business.
Because that would have left us with 6 wins, and it turns out South Johnston ended up with 7 wins and didn't get in the playoffs. It was an important game for that aspect, and you can tell the kids want to keep playing and in the way they played.
Absolutely. Rather even first quarter, again, both teams kind of feeling each other out, but after the first and only score by the Trojans actually scored first, it was all Rams after that, with the Rams scoring 35 points in the second quarter, take a 41-7 lead into the break. The 35 points scored, Coach, was the most points scored in a quarter for the Rams all season. Previous high was 23 in the Triple S game. Ram offense was clicking on all cylinders, especially that second quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And to get that many points in a quarter, the defense has to be playing well too, to keep getting the ball back to the offense quickly. Forcing some turnovers helped. So from top to bottom, we've probably had better games on defense. We probably had better games on offense, but together that was by far our best performance, and it really showed in that quarter.
Well, like I said,
the game was won there.
Yeah, as you said, for the great night for the defense. A few names that stood out to me: 2 of your linebackers, Jalen Vincent, Tavon Sutton, big nights. Vincent credited with 12 tackles, 4 of those for loss. Also a fumble recovery. Sutton, 8 tackles, 3 for loss, 3 interceptions on the night. 1 by Durham, 1 by Hampton, and 1 by the big man, Janathan Coward, there in the middle. We might see that one coming up. I can't give anything away. We might see that one coming up. But how about that defense, Coach? Again, I thought they played very, very well. Yeah,
the secondary, I mentioned it, I believe, last week, how well they've played all season long, and that continued last night, where they got behind and they had to start throwing the football. They made it very difficult for them, and came up with some big plays when they needed to. And then 2 linebackers you mentioned, they seem to be good for 10 tackles every game.
Absolutely, so,
yeah. A lot of consistency there down the stretch, and some really good play.
Well, let's talk some stats, Coach. Offensively, 517 total yards for the Rams, 290 through the air, 227 on the ground. That's very good as far as consistency goes. Defensively, you hold the Trojans to 258 yards total, only 100 through the air, 158 on the ground. I know that you'll say that the Rams can always do better, and like you said, you've already mentioned it. I think, probably you pick 1 or 2 of those, excuse me, of those aspects, offense, defense, whatever, probably better games at times, but all around, again, I thought best game top to bottom.
Yeah, I really do. To keep them in check defensively the way they did, and then able to score on them, I think by far the best performance we've had, and one of the most lopsided scores they've had all year. So I think we really, they're a good football team. They're a 7-win football team coming into the game. So you don't expect to get a result the way we did.
Do you think, again, and again, I'll be the first to acknowledge that I'm not exactly well-breathed on the playoff scenario, or not scenarios, but the playoff, how to get there and all that kind of thing, max preps, all that. Do you think our game really had anything to really do? I know the loss, but the lopsided loss or anything like that, does that come in? I mean, I really expected South to get in. That's kind of what I'm getting at,
It might have. That's the one thing that's frustrating for coaches. Probably really frustrating on South Johnston's perspective, is we don't know what makes up that formula. We know margin of victory is a factor.
Where does it stop?
Did it break it? How does that all work?
Right.
There's a lot of working theories out there, but it's all just that. It's just theories. We did know we wanted to, keep going when we got up for that factor to get ourselves a better seed, because we knew we were on that cusp of being an 8 or a 9 or a 10 seed based on our max prep rating. And obviously if you're an 8, you're home. If you're 9, you're away.
Right.
And going into the game, we were behind Northern Durham in the rankings, and so the margin of victory obviously played a factor in that, because they had a big win as well.
Right, exactly,
against Northwood. So for us to leapfrog them or to jump ahead of them, margin of victory must be a factor in it.
Well, as we do each week, Coach, I've queued up some highlights. I'd love for you to take us through it. We're going to start out on defense here. 4th and 10 for the Trojans inside Ram territory, and your defense comes up with the first turnover of the game.
Yeah, probably, all interceptions are good, but probably the best interception I've seen all year, just as far as being exactly where we want on coverage, inside leverage, over top, and then making an unbelievable break on the football.
Definitely made a break.
Some interceptions, particularly in high school, are just thrown to you.
Yeah.
You're in the right spot, and they get thrown to you. And some of them take unbelievable plays, and that's what we see right here. Jamal, great instincts here. Went through some growing pains, him playing as a sophomore, 3 years ago, and now we're kind of seeing the results of that, of, the instinct aspect of it. And he's always had great physical tools, but now understanding the whole game and where he fits in it. And unbelievable catch. He had another great one later in the game. They called pass interference, which was.
We'll just leave that as it is.
It was not. When you go back and watch the film, he actually makes no contact with it. The receiver runs into him after he already intercepts it. But great jumping of the ball last night.
Absolutely. After a Tyson Dew touchdown, the Rams now kicking off to the Trojans. The Rams perform another perfect onside kick.
Yep. Wyatt's gotten very good at that, and the kick team's done a very good job of executing it. A lot of the little details in there to go and notice, knocking the guy off the ball that's getting ready to go catch it.
Right.
Having guys ready to receive it. We'd like to field a little cleaner than we did, because we got a couple touches that we didn't bring it down. But something Coach Jacobs and Coach Bozer work with them a lot on, and we've gotten pretty good at it.
Absolutely, have gotten good at it. After the recovery, Rams with a 1st and 20 on the Trojan 29, and Sawyer hits Scott for the beautiful touchdown.
Yeah, Isaiah's done a great job coming up from JV to varsity the last 2 weeks, and does a good job of making the throws that are there for him.
Yep.
And this is another brother to brother connection. I think they had one last week as well. But good read, a good ball fake, and then once you do those two things, the throw becomes easy. But those details before the ball release comes out of your hand, it's what makes that completion a touchdown.
Well, I tell you, no disrespect to Sawyer at all. He doesn't necessarily have the rocket that Ocean's got, but he can put it on the money.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a great job of avoiding the rush, putting the ball on the money. All right, back on defense here, Coach, and 3rd and 10 for the Trojans on their own 36. I pulled this one because it's a prime example of how I thought the defense played all night. The Trojans attempted this quick out several times, and the Rams just had it covered all night long. I mean, it was over and over. They kept going back to this play, and I don't know that they ever got more than 2 or 3 yards if they got that on it.
Yeah, it's hard to throw that route against the coverage we're in when we got a press corner out there. And Jamal does a great job. Very physical tackler. He's a corner. He can run with anybody he plays against, but what a lot of people don't know about him is underneath those pads, he's one of the strongest kids in our program. So you can see that power right there when he unloads on him. We want him to bring his hands and wrap up, but at least he stays with it and gets him on the ground. But, a great impact. It's one of those that you heard.
Oh, yeah.
Out there. So
a lot of ooze.
And then what you see there too is everybody pursuing the football.
Right.
We try to tell them, we have confidence in you guys, but assume everybody's going to miss a tackle. So you can be there for the cleanup, and you see Tavon help Jamal clean that up.
Next up, Coach, 1st and 10 for the Rams on their own 49. Tyson Dew takes the handoff up the middle, breaks one tackle, and then it's a foot race to the end zone. Yeah,
good blocking up front. We tell Tyson his job is to get in that secondary, and from there, that's where you earn your pay. We'll get you through the linebackers and the D linemen, and he does that right there. That speed. That's what a lot of coaches say after we play him is you can see that he's got good moves. You can see he's got power. What you don't understand until you play him is how fast he is. He can break it. So kind of see all that right there, because that broken tackle right there is just power in the lower half, and then he can run away from the defense right through the middle.
2nd and 7 for the Rams now, Coach, on their 37. This time Sawyer hits John Barnes. Another beautiful pass over the middle.
Yeah, good placement. John does a great job of reeling that in and taking it to the house. Again,
just right on the money. Perfect stride.
And that breakaway speed is crucial.
All right, back again on defense now, Coach, and here's your big man in the middle. We mentioned this one a little earlier, Jonathan Coward making the play for you.
Yeah, they ran a lot of screens. You know, when we charted them, 42% of all their pass plays were screens. So we reminded them of Terry Sanford and how poorly we played screens in that game, and worked on it quite a bit. And it kind of shows you how, you know, teams progress and get better. This is probably a touchdown against Terry Sanford. Same play, same execution. Difference is we've gotten better at recognizing blocking schemes and getting let go and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things you like to see at the end of the season, show that we've gotten better at things that we were bad at before.
And that's Coward's responsibility is to stay at home on that little screen there, and he does it.
He feels them and gets it through there. A little bit later, Traquan gets his hands on the interception, isn't able to bring it in towards the end of the half, and the three seniors we had starting on defense would have all got picks on senior night. So I was telling him, you guys squeeze that one next time, because you know, him getting one on senior night and Jamal getting 1.5. He got the interception, they just didn't count it.
What I loved about this one, Coach, and again, the replay sort of cuts it off a little bit, but big celebration. Everybody's just all over Coward, you know, and just love to see the team coming together and thanking the big man for the play. Yeah,
you love it when you get to see guys that usually get to touch the ball, get their hands on it.
Absolutely. All right, 1st and 10 for the Rams on the Trojan 42 now, although not a scoring play here, Coach. This play, again, I think just shows the vision and power back of your running back, Tyson Dew. Game in and game out. 5 different Trojans. I think I counted 5 different Trojans with a shot on the running back, but he's not brought down until after gaining 32.
Yeah, probably one of the most impressive highlights offensively, just because of turning something that should be a 3-yard gain into a huge play. And like I said, he didn't get in the end zone, but it's not for lack of trying.
Exactly.
Yep. Even once he gets wrapped up there towards the 10-yard line, he's dragging people and pulling them. So a great run. Obviously, his elusiveness is it helps, obviously, and it's really helped our defense. You know, trying to tackle him and scout. And,
absolutely. That is one thing that probably, you know, has gone without saying this year, or noticing, I should say. But again, you're playing against you're practicing against one of the best running backs in the state right there.
And he does that against us all the time too. But you know, we've gotten better about tackling, and not small part because of having to do it against him.
All right, same drive, Coach. 1st and goal from the Rams from the 5, although we don't see the actual catch in the replay. Sawyer with another beautiful throw and a great catch by Barnes for the score.
Yeah, wish you could see the catch, because he dots the eye.
He does dot the eye. Yep,
and gets his feet down. And told him that'd be an NFL catch too, because he gets both feet down, jabbing both in there as he's going out.
Yep.
But yeah, Isaiah does a great job putting that ball. Like you said earlier, good placement of it. And he puts it where only John could catch it. So it's either going to be a catch for a touchdown or an incomplete, and we can try again.
And he takes the big shot here right at, after he's thrown it too. So he's standing in there taking that shot as well.
Yeah, and that personal foul really helped us on the kickoff, be able to kick the ball through the end zone.
All right, another play here from your defense, Coach. Trojans driving, 1st and 10 on the Rams 18. Another pick by your defense to stop the drive.
Yeah, they brought a different quarterback in, a little bit stronger arm, and he kind of threw him down there. We play a little conservative because there's only about 30 seconds left.
Right.
Probably a little too conservative. And this is obviously, they took a timeout with 3 seconds left, and it was the last play of the game. And West Durham, the replay kind of did justice to the athleticism he has of this, of posting that guy up, and he catches it with one hand because the guy has his other hand with him. So mid-air, high pointing it and catching it with one hand is not an easy thing to do. And he's been a pretty impressive sophomore for us.
He definitely has been that. All right, final one here, Coach. 3rd quarter, 1st and 10 for the Rams on the Trojan 18. Corn Artist takes a shovel pass. Again, my favorite play in the Rams arsenal, by the way. We call it the Jeff Garner special online, but scores from 18 yards out.
Yeah, Good one. A play, we usually hand off, shuttling it forward just makes it, in case the handoff's messed up, it's just incomplete. But it really shows Corn's athleticism and his speed when he turns that corner.
Yep.
He, being a sophomore, doesn't get as many targets and those kind of things as some of the other receivers, but he is dangerous when he gets it.
He definitely is. All right, Coach. I appreciate that. Again, a lot of great replays. Could have pulled a whole lot of others, and again, the last couple of weeks, I could have. It's flipping a coin almost, just pulling some of these highlights, but appreciate that. Next up, Coach, weekly player awards. Love to hear who you got for us this week.
Obviously, the usual suspects for Offensive Player of the Week. Last week, Tyson and Isaiah were definitely deserving of it. Tyson with 290 yards rushing, and he had another big night.
Yes, he did.
And didn't get to play much in the second half, so he had like 170 yards in just the first half alone. So, but Isaiah Sawyer for doing it for 2 weeks in a row, coming up from the JV, throwing for 280-some yards.
Yeah.
Definitely exceeded expectations of what we had for him, and he's done a great job of winning those last two, getting us in the playoffs, and being a very capable backup for us as we go forward in the playoffs.
I tell you, no disrespect to the young man at all, but again, I personally certainly wasn't expecting this kind of output. I was hoping for, again, I knew our offense is centered around Dew. That's no surprise by anything, but you got to have somebody back there that can at least give some sort of possible throwing the ball, and he did way more than that. He was a threat back there, and again did a fantastic job in 2 weeks.
Yeah, he did a great job for us and throws the ball really well and runs the ball pretty well.
Absolutely.
So he's our Offensive Player of the Week this week. Defensive Player of the Week, for 2 weeks in a row, we go with Jamal Hampton. The 2 interceptions, and I'll count them as 2.
There you go.
Even though it doesn't count in the stat book, another 5 tackles. A lot of deserving guys. Like I said, it's one of our best defensive games we've had this year. But both picks he had, just the read, the instincts to go after it, and the confidence he's playing at right now is huge for our defense, because he can match up with about anyone that we want him to.
Great pick.
It's a great tool to have. So he's our Defensive Player of the Week again this week. Hopefully he can keep this streak alive.
That'd be nice.
Of getting picks and putting us in good scoring position. Special Teams Player of the Week. There weren't necessarily any extraordinary plays besides the onside kick that we got on the special team side, but consistency, we'll give it to Mark Holmes. He's on our kickoff team and has been all year. Takes a lot of pride in being on that team, and got a big tackle when we kicked it deep to start off the game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We let Jathan kick off.
Jathan, yeah, I was going to mention that. I didn't actually catch that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't actually catch it. I was in the middle of the broadcast, and Kenny was the one that said, "Hey, that was Coward," and he used to be a kicker or something.
He kicked for us in JV.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
no real other option, and he can, when he gets a hold of it, it goes far. I think on JV it was either an onside kick or a touchback. We didn't know which.
Yeah, which way?
It was just a surprise.
Right.
So, for all time saying on senior night, we let him kick it deep. That's Coach Jacobs' idea, and he did, and Mark ran down there. We have a little fear of kicking deep sometimes at returns, but Mark ran down there and got a good tackle. But he's done that consistently. When we've had the deeper kicks, he's gotten down there and gotten them on the ground. So he's done a good job for us all year. Kind of the captain of that kickoff team. And then our Trench's Player of the Week for offensive defensive lineman goes to Cameron Witmer. Anchor that offensive line, and they've played really well the last couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
Deserve a lot of credit for that, and him being the center of it is key. And then Scout Team Player of the Week goes to Wesley King.
Okay.
Our backup center, backup guard.
Right.
He's a sophomore playing up, and he doesn't get to start. He didn't get to play probably as much as he'd like to, and if he's down on JV, he'd probably been a starter. But kind of sacrificing some of that playing time this year to give us some depth that we really need, and
all that'll pay off. All that'll pay off.
And it'll all pay off.
Yep.
He's done a great job scouting for us. Usually the other team's center or guard, and does a real good job, and we just appreciate the effort he gives us in practice. And then Program Player of the Week, I think he won this a couple times, but Connor Rice.
Yeah.
Connor leads our team in GPA, just a good quality guy.
27.9 or something.
But
I don't know what
besides just doing that, he does anything that we need for the team. So when Ocean got hurt in the Clayton game, we knew we were going to move Isaiah up, but we still didn't have. We didn't have another reoccurrence of that. We wanted a capable backup.
Certainly.
And he played quarterback on JV, so he moves from linebacker back to quarterback for the last 2 weeks of his season, and didn't complain about it. Kind of excited about it, and did a good job. So we had something happen to Isaiah. We had a backup plan in place, and he did a great job of that. Did a good job scouting for us, and got in the game on senior night. Unfortunately, gets the knee injury.
A little bit nicked up there.
2 good runs, and then dislocates his knee with a big hit. But we just really appreciate everything he's done for us. Probably won't be able to come back this year because of the knee injury, but we'll be glad to have him on the sideline for the rest of the year.
I was really worried about that. I knew when he didn't get up, and he started grabbing, and I'm thinking, oh man, I hope it's not too serious. And thankfully, like I said, thankfully, could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it's usually one of those injuries you hear. It's very painful. You hear a lot of screaming, and he didn't say a peep out there. Yeah, they popped it back in. Took him a couple tries. They got it back in out in the field, and he was just grabbing the dirt but never saying anything. So he's a real tough kid.
Wow.
Everything you want out of a football player, Connor does for you. He's great in the classroom. Great on the field, never complains, only does what will be best for the team, and then is tough. Obviously.
That's awesome.
So, a great program player for us.
Well, great choices there, Coach. I appreciate it. So let's move on now to the Rams' upcoming game this week. As we said earlier in the show, Rams finished the season 7-4, 4-1 in the conference, and giving them second place outright in the Greater Neuse River 3A Conference. Saturday, the seedings and brackets came out for the state playoffs, and we were granted the number 8 seed, as we mentioned a little earlier, in the 3AA bracket. First off, as we now move into the postseason, Coach, tell me, how do you feel about the regular season as a whole? And secondly, your thoughts on being granted that number 8 seed?
Good. I think we're happy with the draw and how that planned out. There's a lot of criticism of the Max Preps ratings and how the playoffs are seeded and those things. One thing it does do is it encourages teams to go out and play tough competition. So us and Northern Durham are both seeded as second place teams. We actually are hosting with a worse record, which wouldn't have been we'd be going to Northern Durham.
Be the other way around.
Most years. Yep. But, if you look at our 7-4 record, 3 of our 4 losses go to conference champions, undefeated Cardinal Gibbons, 9-1 or 10-1 Terry Sanford, who's the conference champion of a 8-team conference, and then who was the other loss to?
Over Garner.
And we beat Garner, who's conference champion, and but Gibbons, them, and then Clayton, undefeated Clayton. Yeah. So 3 of our 4 losses to conference champions. The only one that wasn't was the tough Fuquay team, and that was a game that we had
it. Had it.
You got to be happy with that overall results. Playing tough competition hopefully will pay off now that we got into the playoffs, and it obviously helped us with our seed. I really pleased with where we're at in it. If we'd beaten even Clayton and won the conference, we'd be seated as a 6 or 7, and that side of the bracket seems a little tough. Things work out the way they're supposed to work out. But we're, it's one game at a time, and
that's it. Now it's survive and advance. Move forward.
That's kind of the mode we've been in for the last 2 weeks. After we lost to Clayton, we knew we had to get second place to get in the playoffs. So that's kind of the mindset we've been in, and hopefully we can continue to get the results our way.
Well, the Rams' opponent, you've already mentioned, Coach, in round 1 will be the Knights of Northern Durham. The Knights were granted the number 9 seed, as you mentioned, so this is the number 8, number 9 game in the 3AA East bracket. The Knights come in with 8-2 record overall, finished tied at 5-1 with Orange in the Big 8 3A. The Knights' only loss in the conference was to Orange. Thus, Orange was received the higher seed there at 6 that you mentioned. Initial thoughts on the Knights heading into round 1, Coach?
Obviously, very talented team. Big turnaround from last year to this year as far as their overall record with their new coach. Very dangerous. They've only lost 2 games, one to a very tough Orange team, and that was an Orange team that had all their had all the power, healthy, and they've since had some injuries. But and then the other loss was a 3-quarter game up at Fike, the first game of the year. They didn't get to finish. So they've gotten the results they needed. they're solid on both offense and defense, so they don't have any glaring weaknesses or things like that. But so a good, well-rounded team, and if we're lucky enough to win, we'll have earned it.
There you go. Well, as you mentioned, first-year head coach is John Hammett for the Knights. Hammett comes to Northern from Granville Central, where he also served as the athletic director. He coached at Granville Central for 6 seasons, posting a 34-40 record. His best season with the Panthers came in 2015 when they went 9-4 before they losing in the second round at East Carteret. Hammett was credited with turning the Granville Central program around, which had only won 1 game in 2 seasons prior to his arrival. So, what can you tell us about Coach Hammett, Coach? What do you know about him?
Great coach. It's the first time we've squared off with him, but seen him on film a couple times in the past. He was at Granville Central, and he's been around for a long time. Very good offensive coach, and his teams are always well schooled and well taught, and you can see that on film.
Well, being this is first year, have you had enough tape to look at with Northern, or did you have to go back to Granville Central a little bit and take a look at those kind of things?
No, we usually stick to the at the end of the year. There's enough film out there that, but we exchanged 3 films with them, and we got a feel from
good feel
from those 3 games.
Well, statistically, as you might imagine, this 8-9 game to be, both teams come in pretty close to one another. Northern scoring about 31 points a game, the Rams 36. Total yards, the Knights with 315 a game, the Rams 419. Passing yards, 193 for the Knights, 212 for the Rams. I think the difference where I see it, Coach, between these two teams appears to be on the ground. The Knights come in averaging about 122 yards a game, and the Rams 208. I know you're not going to give away the game plan here, nor would I expect you to, but I assume the Ram fam can kind of expect to try to take advantage of our strong running game Friday night.
I think we might give Tyson
give a few balls. Yeah, I kind of thought that.
We'll hand it off to him, see if what he can do at least once. But no, they're a well-rounded team. They're going to do both. They'll probably throw it a few more times than they run it, but it's not going to be 70-30 either way. It'll probably be close to 50-50. And they got their tailback is their leading rusher, obviously, and he's second in receiving, so they get in the ball a number of different ways. He's got that breakaway speed, very elusive, not all dissimilar to Tyson. Maybe not quite as big, but he has those skills. So they'll put us be a big test on there. They got a lot of passing options and threats out there, particularly in the slot and big tight end.
Now, do they, from what I've seen or at least read or whatever, I mean, more of a two-back tight end kind of offense more than the spread offense, or is it?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Depending on what they're trying to do. So they'll have a tight end and 2 backs in. They'll have a tight end and 1 back, and then they'll be in a true 10 personnel or spread look as well. So they have some versatility in that regard.
Well, at the quarterback position, the Knights have a 5'11", 205-pound junior behind center, number 4, Bryson Jackson. He's right at 2,000 yards passing on the season, 22 touchdowns, also 16 interceptions, however, as well. He threw 3 interceptions last week in the finale against Northwood. Only 27 yards on 34 carries for the quarterback this season, meaning I assume maybe not a real threat to run out of the backfield. So all that kind of tells me, coaches, we might maybe be seeing some added pressure on that junior quarterback, maybe try to force him into some situations that he doesn't like to do.
Yeah, well, one thing you got to take into account, the stats, the way they're kept in high school is different than they are in at different levels. So, you look at Ocean's stats, for example, too. He has like 12 rushing yards on the season, but sacks come off of rushing stats.
That's true.
In high school, where they come off passing stats at other levels. So, you get a sack for a 12-yard loss, it negates a big run that you had. So, with quarterbacks, you kind of
question that a little bit.
Stats are a little misleading. He obviously is capable. He's very athletic. You can see him scramble around. And then the films we have, we don't see him run very often, but he scrambles around and makes throws. So
kind of extends the play.
Yeah,
he's able to extend the play.
And tries to make plays down the field doing that.
Well, defensively for the Knights, there are a couple of names that kind of jumped out at me statistically. Both sophomores, Coach. First, the defensive tackle, number 9, Jaden Taylor. Taylor leads the team in tackles this season with 85, 8 of those for loss. The other sophomore is a linebacker, number 33, Cameron Traylor. So there's Taylor and Traylor. Trailer second in tackles for the night with 82, 7 of those for loss. Stingy is kind of the word that comes to mind when I think the Northern defense. Forced 6 turnovers against Northwood last week. Your thoughts on the night defense?
Yeah, they come across, on film at least, as what you typically see out of the Big 8 conference. They're solid across the board, play a pretty, I won't say conservative, but a base defense, and they're really good at it.
They're good at what they do.
Yeah, they're good at what they do. They don't do anything too elaborate, but they're really good at what they do. And I would say that's the case as well. Don't envy you having to say those 2 names.
I know, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to be saying those all night long, Taylor, Trailer, and getting them, whatever, so we'll see. Okay, Ram fam, well, here we go again. Going to need you there this Friday night. Rams at home against the Knights of Northern Durham. Round 1 of the North Carolina High School State Playoffs. Kickoff 7:30 p.m. right here again at Cleveland High School. Going to be a big night for sure. We absolutely need you in the house. You've been... your support this year has been tremendous. I think I speak for that for you, Coach. It's been tremendous, but got to crank it up one more time, especially now that the playoffs. Every level. You start the non-conference season. That's one level. You get to the conference season. That's another level. Now we get to the playoffs. That's another level. And so you really got to pick it up. All going to be good teams, and we're going to need the Ram fan to pick it up as well. So we'll certainly be there covering every play as we do each week. We'll be right back here with the coach talking about the game with Northern, hopefully a W, so we can move on to the second round. But Coach, thanks again for your time this week. Final comments for us.
Just 2 things. One, I know it's going to be cold, but we still expect you to be out there.
Absolutely. Yes.
We've in the past had really good attendance, and then it gets a little cold and our attendance drops off. So bundle up, come out and watch us. It's real good football when it gets to this time of year.
Yeah, the 2 good teams. They're all good. They're all good. They're all good.
And I wanted to give a shout out, if you will, to the JV team for winning the conference championship last Thursday night, and Coach Bozer for the great job that he's done with that group. But it's the start of the season 0-3 against some really good teams. If you look back on it, now that we know how the whole season panned out, we lose to Garner by 3, but we miss 5 extra points. So a winnable game. But they go on to go undefeated and win their conference.
Absolutely.
The JVs from Gardner. We lose to Cardinal Gibbons, which I think they went undefeated and won their conference. And then Fuquay, their only loss was to Gardner in their conference and came second place in their conference. And that was a game that we easily could have won, went into overtime and lost. So, looking back on it, 3 quality losses, if you will.
Yeah.
And then to run off the rest of the season undefeated, going through the rest of the non-conference and conference, and finish up the way they did. And from any group I've ever coached, they've had the most fun doing it.
Great.
So they've been a good group to be around, and we'll be excited to coach them for the next, most of them are freshmen, so the next 3 years.
That's awesome.
This, so.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Bozer, and again, I appreciate you bringing that up. Again, congratulations to the JVs and Coach Bozer. I talked to him after the game or whatever and said, congratulations, Coach, and and he goes, for what? He was like, for what? And I went, champions, bro. He goes, we don't get any for that. That's just, I said, it's not just JV. That's huge. He was kind of kidding,
right?
But again, it just shows, again, it's a lot of work going in with these guys. It's going to pay dividends here next year and the years to come. And kudos, like I said, to the JV Rams and Coach Bozer for doing just a fantastic job this year.
Yeah, with them going undefeated in the conference and winning it, the middle school going undefeated and winning the conference championship, the future's bright for Cleveland.
Future's looking good. We're looking good. Okay, well, Ram fam, thanks again, Coach. I appreciate it. Ram fam, again, we're going to need you Friday night again, 7:30 here at home against Northern, first round of the state playoffs. Hope to see you there. Again, bundle up. Going to be a little chilly, but we need you there. Need you loud and proud, as Cleveland proud, as we like to say, and we appreciate it. And we'll certainly be there covering everything. We appreciate you being here on broadcast here today. And as always, until next week, go Rams.